Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. You'll get 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Plus, enjoy access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection. And with the welcome offer of 150,000 points, your business can soar to all new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
This episode is brought to you by Atlassian. Atlassian makes the team collaboration software that powers enterprise businesses around the world, including over 80% of the Fortune 500. With Atlassian's AI-powered software like Jira, Confluence, and Loom, you'll have more time to do the work that matters. In fact, Atlassian customers experience a 25% reduction in project duration per year. Unleash the potential of your team at Atlassian.com. Atlassian.
Ever notice how some people just seem to sail through their careers, landing amazing roles even when everyone else is struggling?
Yeah, it's like they've got some secret formula.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. One of the most powerful tools for any job seeker.
Personal branding.
You got it. We'll be dissecting the common mistakes and how to avoid them.
Sounds good. Where are we getting our insights from today?
Our guide for this deep dive is career coach Jeff Altman. He's known as the Big Game Hunter.
I like Altman. He's straight to the point. No sugarcoating,
Absolutely. He cuts through the fluff. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is personal branding? And why is it so crucial in today's job market?
Altman emphasizes it's not about some flashy marketing campaign.
Yeah, not just slapping a logo on yourself.
Right. It's about cultivating a reputation. Becoming known for something specific and valuable.
So like becoming the go-to person for something.
Precisely. Think of someone you admire professionally. What's their thing? Chances are they've built a personal brand around that expertise. Maybe intentionally, maybe not.
That makes sense. It's about standing out. And speaking of standing out, one mistake I see all the time is people thinking, well, I'm not a big company, so I don't need a brand.
That's a classic misconception. But as Altman points out, even individuals are brands. Every interaction, every post, it all adds to how people see you.
So even if we aren't actively building a brand, we're still projecting an image.
Absolutely. The question is it the image you want to project? Or are you letting things happen by chance?
Good question. And it brings us to another big mistake, inaction. It's easy to feel overwhelmed and just not start.
Altman compares it to a marathon. It takes consistent effort, not a quick sprint.
Right. But just like a marathon, you have to take that first step.
Exactly.
What's a good first step for someone who's stuck?
It could be simple. Updating your LinkedIn profile to reflect your current goals, or maybe reaching out to someone in your network for an informational interview.
Okay, so we're taking action. But how do we avoid being just another face in the crowd? How do we make our brand memorable, but for the right reasons?
Altman has a great line. He says, being competent isn't a brand. It's what everyone claims. You got to focus on what makes you uniquely valuable.
What's your special sauce, so to speak?
Yes. Instead of just listing skills on your resume, think of specific examples that show impact. Stories, achievements, things like that.
So instead of managed a team, you'd say something like, led a team to exceed sales targets by 15% using a new strategy I developed.
Exactly. Numbers and tangible results, those paint a clear picture, makes you stand out.
This makes me think about networking, too. It feels like a strong personal brand and a strong network go hand in hand.
Absolutely. Altman stresses nurturing your network. It's much easier to build on those existing relationships than starting from scratch.
Staying top of mind, offering value, even when you're not actively job searching.
Right. That way, when you are looking, you're not cold calling, you're reconnecting with people who already know and value what you bring.
Hopefully ready to put in a good word for you. So, for those neglecting their network, what can they do today to start rebuilding?
Something small. Send a message to someone you haven't spoken to in a while, just to check in. No big ask. Just a genuine attempt to reconnect.
No knows. That might spark a conversation that leads to their next big break.
Absolutely. Now, consistency. We've all seen those LinkedIn profiles that are all over the place, right? Politics one day, vacation photos the next. It's confusing.
Like they're trying to be everything to everyone, which ends up being nothing to anyone.
Exactly. Altman warns against that scattered online presence. Pick a niche and stick with it. Become known for your expertise in a specific area.
So master of one, not jack of all trades.
Yes. Focus your energy, become a thought leader in your chosen field. Doesn't mean you can't have other interests, but your professional presence should reflect your core expertise.
Makes sense. This brings up a question for our listeners. What's the one thing you want to be known for? If someone summed up your expertise in a single sentence, what would it be?
That's a great exercise to clarify your brand and make sure your actions align with that core message.
This reminds me of another Altman point. Leveraging your employer's brand. How can we do that strategically without becoming too reliant on it?
It's a balancing act. You can highlight your employer's reputation, especially if it's a good one, but build your distinct brand that goes beyond any one company.
Like standing on the shoulders of giants, but still reaching for your own star.
Love that. Your current employer might open some doors, but it's your personal brand that will determine your long-term success.
A portable brand, something you take with you wherever you go.
Absolutely. And this brings us to another crucial point. Thinking ahead, planning strategically.
Something I think many overlook. They're so focused on the next job, they don't see the bigger picture.
Altman says, anticipate what future employers will want. What skills and qualities will be hot in your field 5, 10, even 15 years down the line?
Great point. It's like having a roadmap for your career, not just wandering aimlessly.
Exactly. And to create that roadmap, research what's valued in higher-level roles in your path. What do those successful people have in common? What experiences got them there?
Practical advice. Instead of chasing titles, develop the skills that align with your long-term goals.
Yes. Take ownership of your career trajectory, shape it intentionally.
This has been thought-provoking. Personal branding is way more nuanced than a catchy tagline or a fancy LinkedIn profile.
It is. It's strategy, consistency, intentionality, and understanding that building your brand is an ongoing process.
Well said. We covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive into personal branding. Before we move on, what stood out to you as a key takeaway so far?
For me, it's Altman's emphasis on that unique value proposition. It's not enough to be competent. You have to show what makes you different and why that matters to potential employers.
Fantastic point. A great reminder to hone in on that special sauce.
You know, speaking of that special sauce, Altman uses this analogy of a shop window.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, he says you got to display your most valuable stuff where people can see it.
So how does that apply to personal branding? What's the shop window in this case?
Think of it as all the ways you present yourself professionally. Your resume, LinkedIn, your online portfolio, even how you introduce yourself at networking events.
So those first impressions really matter.
Absolutely. Don't bury your accomplishments, highlight them, make an impact right away.
Any practical tips on making that shop window more eye-catching?
Altman's big on using bullet points, strong action verbs, quantifiable results whenever possible. So instead of saying managed a project.
You'd say something more like, led a team to finish under budget and ahead of schedule.
Exactly. And add in some numbers. Led a team to deliver project 20% under budget and ahead of schedule.
Wow, that's much stronger. It tells a story, shows results.
Exactly. It paints a picture of what you can do. And speaking of storytelling, Altman's a big advocate for creating content.
Content creation. Like writing blog posts or making videos.
Exactly. Share your knowledge, your insights. You'll not only be showing off your expertise, but also positioning yourself as a thought leader.
But that takes time and effort. What if you're not a natural writer or speaker?
Start small. Focus on what you know best. You don't need to write a book. Just share a quick tip on LinkedIn or maybe write a short blog post. Even a simple video explaining something in your field.
Okay, that feels more manageable. Small steps build up over time.
And you never know who might see it. That one piece of content could catch the eye of a recruiter. Plus, it helps with searchability.
Good point. Gives people something to find when they Google you. So even if you're not actively looking for a job, putting yourself out there can lead to opportunities.
Precisely. And when you are applying for jobs, Altman stresses tailoring your resume and cover letter to each specific role.
I know. Everyone says that. But actually doing it effectively is tough.
It is. It's tempting to just use a generic resume and send it out to everyone, but that's like sending a form letter.
No effort. Blends in with the crowd.
Exactly. Take the time to read the job description carefully and highlight what's most relevant. Using the same keywords they use can really help your application stand out.
So, speak their language, show you understand their needs.
Yes, it shows attention to detail, which is a great quality for any candidate. Now let's talk about the interview process. How can personal branding help you make a good impression once you're in the room?
Good question. Once you're in the interview, it feels like it's all about your answers, how you present yourself. So how does branding even play into that?
Altman says the interview should be a conversation, a two-way street. Yes, you answer their questions, but you're also figuring out if this is right for you.
Interesting. Takes the pressure off a bit, right?
It does. You can be more confident, more authentic, and remember, skills can be taught, but personality and passion are what make you unique.
So be yourself, but still mindful of how you're presenting yourself.
Right. Don't just recite your resume. Tell your story in a way that engages them, leaves them wanting more. And don't forget to ask insightful questions. Shows you're curious and you understand the company.
Be prepared, but also present.
It's a balance. And speaking of preparation, Altman also suggests researching the people you'll be interviewing with. Look them up on LinkedIn, read their articles, get a sense of their background.
Great tip. Shows you're proactive and helps tailor the conversation to their interests.
Exactly. Turns the interview into a dialogue, not a one-sided thing.
Builds rapport, common ground.
Right. And that can make all the difference. So, great advice for acing the interview. But personal branding seems like it's something you need to keep up even after you get the job.
Absolutely. It's not a one-time thing, it's ongoing.
Think of it like tending a garden. You got to water it, weed it, prune it, keep it healthy.
So how do we keep our personal brand garden thriving?
Altman suggests staying active in your field. Go to industry events, join organizations, keep learning, and stay connected with your network. Reach out to people regularly, offer support.
Be a valuable part of your community.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to revisit your personal brand, make adjustments. Goals change, skills evolve, the job market shifts. Make sure your brand always reflects who you are and where you want to go.
Like a living document, evolving as you evolve.
Exactly. And by being mindful of your brand and actively cultivating it, you'll be in a great position to navigate the job market and reach your goals.
This has been so insightful. We've just scratched the surface of personal branding, though, haven't we?
It's a deep topic. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to one of Altman's most important takeaways.
Okay, I'm listening. What is it? Okay, I'm listening. What is it?
It's about shifting our perspective. Instead of asking, what job do I want?
We should be asking.
Altman says, what kind of person does my dream job want to hire?
That changes things. It forces you to see it from their side.
Exactly. Think about what they're looking for. Then align your brand with that.
It's like reverse engineering the job search.
I like that. It's about being strategic, intentional, not just reacting.
And it all ties back to what we've been talking about, right?
Yeah.
Defining your value, crafting your story, building your network.
It all comes together to create a personal brand that resonates.
Speaking of resonating,
Yeah.
one thing that keeps coming up for me is authenticity. It's like everyone's trying to be perfect online, but being genuine feels more important than ever.
I agree. People can spot a fake. The best brands are real. They reflect who you truly are.
Let your personality shine through. Don't try to be someone else.
Exactly. That's how you build trust, connection. And that's crucial for a successful career.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive into personal branding. We uncovered some real gems from Jeff Altman.
He's a great resource. Hopefully our listeners feel ready to take what they've learned and put it into practice.
Sure they do. Any final words of advice for those who might be feeling a little overwhelmed?
Remember, it's a marathon. Don't try to do everything at once. Small steps, consistency, and celebrate your wins along the way.
Great advice. And don't forget, you don't have to do this alone. There are tons of resources out there, from career coaches to online groups.
We're here to support you too.
This has been another fantastic deep dive. We'll be back next time with more insights and advice.
Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep shining.